Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of NDI Presents. Today, we're going to cover just a quick overview of a bunch of different tools that are used in 508 compliance testing. We're going to look at the tools that I use the most for doing QA testing and in the 508 compliance arena. So the tools the list is available in the NDI JIRA and I'm sorry, NDI Confluence space under the training and brown bags list. You'll find the overview of the Section 508 compliance tools is the name of the page, and they're listed there in an outline. So you've got from the top, Crypt Zones, Cynthia Says portal, the Wave web accessibility evaluation tool. Those are both online tools. The Chrome extension for Wave, which is the one I use pretty regularly. A text mode extension for Wave. The Lynx text-only browser, which I've kind of gotten away from using, but I'm going to show you the content of it a little bit anyway. WebAIM, which is a 508 checklist. There's a couple of other tools that I use that we're going to cover just so that you can see them. They're things for color and that kind of thing. But anyway, you'll get to see those as well. All right. There's a lot of distractions going on here today, so you have to bear with me as I run through this. I noticed for some reason the chat is disabled on the YouTube live page. I went and I checked the content and it is not disabled from the administrative side. So if you have any questions or anything, just hit me on Hangouts. My Hangout is open, so you'll be able to get me that way. All right, closing that. And so let's go ahead and get rolling. We're going to start by sharing my screen. All right, so you should all see my the Confluence screen for the 508 Section 508 compliance testing tools. Okay, clicking present, and that should take care of it. So with this, you can see right down here is the list of tools that we're going to run over today. I don't really have an outline. We're just going to kind of run through them, and hopefully we'll be able to have a nice short day today. All right, so the first one is the Cynthia Says portal. Cynthia Says has gone through a bunch of different iterations. It's currently owned by CryptZone and works really well. I'm really happy with it. I've got the Network Designs website up here. We're going to use that as an example. All right, so you just come on up here, you type in your email address without spelling mistakes. You paste your URL, and then you determine the compliance mode. Okay, so determining the compliance mode, we've had the discussion before about the difference between 508 and WCAG, and then WCAG's A ratings. So Section 508 is literally the section in the federal documentation requirement for accessibility in websites. Okay, that's the section that it's in that I can't even think of the name of the document right now. WCAG is the national or international accepted standards, but they are much stricter than 508, than what the Section 508 states. Section 508 is really just a basic minimum where WCAG actually looks at accessibility guidelines. So when looking at a site, it might be 508 compliant, but it might not be a WCAG compliant. And it might be WCAG compliant level A, but not AAA, for example. So each of these is a growing standard in the down list here. So we'll start with 508 and we'll see what it does. All right, so we hit click test the site. Chug, chug, chug. All right, so now it's going to bring up an image of the site. It's running the scan. It's going to show us everything that's going on there. I chose the NDI site because I thought it would be a fairly simple one. There's not a tremendous amount of content on the front page. I was kind of hoping it would go quicker. All right, while that's running, I'm going to actually also load that site in the browser-based um, Wave tool. And we'll look at the differences between what Cynthia says and the browser-based Wave tool. The next one is the Wave web check. So we're going to type the browser in there. We're going to let that start to rock as well. And then we'll come hit all of these individually. Let's see, Cynthia says it's not done yet. So let's go ahead and look at. All right, so if you look at the browser-based web tool and the online version of Wave, you'll see that they're practically identical at this point. What happens is it used to be a separate element, but now the Wave tool is actually goes and pulls from the Wave website. So you don't need to use the both of them. I do even see a contrast error difference actually, but you don't need to use the both of them when doing your accessibility checks. One or the other is fine, and I prefer using the in-browser version myself. Let's see if Cynthia says it's done yet. Not yet. All right, we're gonna let that just continue to rock for a few minutes while we go take a look at this guy. All right, so we can see right off the top in the report that there are two errors. Let's see, where are our two errors? All right. Document language is not identified as error number 1. And if you get more information, it'll show you right here. The language of the document is not identified. It matters because screen readers read the content in an appropriate language. How to fix this? You put HTML language and whatever attributes you need in the header file. All right, and the second error. Alternative text. Okay, an image without alternative text results in an empty link. So here's our more information, why it matters, how to fix it. All right. So it's kind of cool the way the system works. It rolls out where it's found, different items. This is the header element. You can tell by the little yellow bar. Um, This is a navigational element. The little icon right there states that. This is the unordered list element, the H1 element for each. When it finds images, if the image, did not mean to click on that. If the image does not have the appropriate alternates, it should state it. Oops, it shut off the, there we go. All right, scroll down a little more. Here's another H2, some H3. Alternative text is null or empty, so that should be a problem. Now, some of these alternative text, as we discussed before, alternative text is not always an error. It is a subjective element. So in the event, like in this case, that the alternative text or that the image itself says something specific, then the alternative text should contain that information. Let's see, suspicious link content or text. The link contains extraneous text, may not make sense out of context. So a more, yeah, is often not what you want to do. Adjacent links to the same URL. So it's a redundant link. So somehow right in here, let's go look at that. I don't see a second link in that though. Unless this is the first link and then this is the second link. That would be my guess. So in the H3, yep. So that's the first link, and then the more is the second link. So we really, it is again, it's just redundant. So interesting. Title attribute text is the same as the text or the alternative text, which I don't particularly have an issue with that. Although you don't need a title when it's fully legible in an H3. So anyway, um, this is the built-in tool. So we're going to walk through real quick, loading this guy. If you look at the Chrome extension website at WebAIM, it's got the complete Firefox and Chrome installation instructions, but it's pretty simple. You just go to the extensions page, you search for it. When you go to get more extensions, wave evaluation tool, and then once it's loaded, you enable it. I don't usually allow incognito mode. I'm fine with having it run just as it would expect to. I also do the same thing with the text mode browser. In the text mode browser, though, for imagery placements, what I prefer rather than a hash out is the size of that image, just so that it holds holds the pattern of the page a little bit cleaner for me. All right, so we're going to close that guy. Okay, don't need that one. So you can see in here, there's 8 alerts, 2 features. Let's go see if we can pull up one of the alerts. So again, the alerts are like this one, which was a suspicious link. It's not very clear. The word more is just not very clear. Here's another alert. It's an adjacent link, so it's a redundant link. These guys all have the attribute text is the same as the alternative text. So the attribute for H3, the attribute text for that is the same as the alt text for it. And then this guy didn't seem to have a, yeah, the alt text field is empty. Let's see. And I don't see, for that linked element, the text itself that's above it is not linked, although this is a primary link. So actually this is a redundant link to this H3. Let's double check that. So let's see. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So that's interesting. So at this point, then I would suppose that they're expecting that this image itself does not need an alt text because it's not necessarily portraying any information that's not available right here, which if that's valid, then that's an acceptable practice. All right. So in the errors list, we can click down on the details and we can see the details, the breakouts of each of the components. So it shows us the 2 errors that we have, makes them easier to find by the icons. The alerts, we pegged all of those down here. 2 features. What's the alt feature? Where's that one? Oh, all the way at the bottom. Okay, linked images with an alternative text. So alternative text is present for an image that is within a link. Okay. So I don't know what the point behind that would be, but maybe it's just telling you that that's a good thing. All right. So the more information icon pulls up once you've selected one of the errors or the features or whatever's. All right, and then this is the total outline of the page. The let's see if that's done yet. Boy, that is still not done. That's got to be hung or something. Let's try that again. Oh, I wonder if Cynthia Says is having an issue right now. It would appear so. Yep. It would appear that Cynthia says is bombing, which is a shame. I was in there yesterday when I ran through all of these to make sure they all worked. Oh well. All right. So the this is the web accessibility evaluation tool. Um, so it's one of my favorites. I would love to ask you if there are any questions, but of course I can't because the chat window is down and I'm not hearing my Hangouts beeping at all. So we're going to hold off on that one. All right. So this is the next one. So we can't do Cynthia says. So the last piece, or the next piece, I guess, is the web accessibility checklist, which is also at WebAIM. And this goes piece by piece. Part one, which takes you through your text equivalent for non-text elements. So that's your alt tags and your long description elements, what constitutes passes and fails, equivalents for multimedia presentations, any information that is conveyed by color has to also be conveyed by style or design. So think stripes and squares instead of reds and blues. So this goes through all of the components. And then the part two component is the scripts and plugins. All right. And all of these links, again, are available right over here on the overview page. All right. So next one I want to do, we're going to drop that guy. We're going to go back to network, designs. And we're going to kick NetDes into a text-only mode. All right, which is the other browser element that I use. All right, so this is text-only view. So all of the images have been replaced with nothing. So the scripting component is still functioning. You can see the SDVO icons are all gone. The NetDes symbols are gone. One of the things that this does is it gives you the ability to understand a page and view its layout. It's easier to check tabbing elements at this point. So we're running through, we want to make sure that elements are still easy to tab through. That's the majority of the navigation that's going to be used by someone who's sight impaired. Where are we in tabbing? There we are. So tabbing still. I don't have as a screen reader at this point. Tabbing is obviously in good shape here. And then it should bump back up to the top shortly. It is. Yeah, so the only thing in the tabbing that I'm not a fan of is we're actually tabbing on a blank element here because there isn't a an alt text for that. There should be for this H reference. Is it going to let me edit it? There we go. Alt equals netdes home. Let's see if that helped at all. It didn't save it. So that's one of the things that I would be concerned with. I would also be concerned with wherever it's going. There it is, whatever that is. I think, oh, that's the SDVO link, which was a graphic. And it goes through there. And now it's should be tabbing up here and straight to solutions, but for some reason I'm not sure. It must be in somewhere in here before it gets to solutions. Yep. So tabbing through here, which I don't like either. We should drop that to the very end or eliminate it as a tab stop. All right, so that's the text-only browser. Shut that back off and have a good look at it. So here's the two elements that we were tabbing through. Let's try that, see what the tab looks like. There's that one and that one. Those, and then now where is it tabbing? 10 tabs in here that it's, yeah, that it's hitting in this applet or whatever this is. So anyway, all right, so that's another something I'm gonna have to look at. But that's how the text browser works. It's pretty simple. It's a very handy tool when it comes right down to it. Some of the other things that we have to check are color. And one of my favorite color tools is this little guy right here. Where did it go? There it is. All right, so this is called Color Picks, okay? If you look, as I move my mouse around the screen, no matter what I'm on, it's actually highlighting that color for me. Okay, so there's the reds and the browns. If you hit the space bar, oops, click, and then if you hit the space bar, it throws a little padlock up there. So now it's locked that color into position. And what I have in my 508 testing toolbox here which you all have access to as well, shut that off, is this guy right here, also on WebAIM. Okay, and so what we have is, let's go grab this color, okay, and we're going to pop that in there. And then we're going to go back over to, where were we? Over here. And let's see, let's do it this way. We're going to say, okay, that the text is white and the background is green. Whoops. Go back to that green background again. All these tools rocking here. Okay, so text is white, the background is that green, and we're going to go over to the color checker. We're going to double click on that color as the background, and we're going to call the foreground. Okay, and so in WCAG it fails. Those two colors are failing. What if we change that background to a darker background? Where did my that does site go? Here we go. Let's try the darker background. Now those pass. So for WCAG AA, that one passes, but for AAA, it does not. In a large text element, it does. So if we wanted to increase the text size, that would work. All right, so that's that gray with that, that white text. So let's try this orange. And again, all four fail. So that's pretty pretty disturbing, actually. But it does show you a good idea about how that how the color scheme works, how that color checker works. Everything is going black and white now. Get that to shut back off. There we go. How about this one? Boom. Let's try that gray. I would bet that gray works. Let's try that blue with that blue background with the with that blue as the foreground, and I can tell you already it's probably going to fail. It's not enough contrast, but what if we went black? Yes. So in that case, the contrast does succeed. All right, and this little guy is called Color Picks. Thank you very much, Mr. Matt, for providing me with this tool quite a few years ago. Very handy. And using that with the WebAIM color contraster is terrific. It's a terrific little process. There's also, if I can find it, and I just thought about it, or I'd had it up for you earlier. I have a color wheel. Essentially, it might even be on WebAIM. I have a color wheel that allows you to spin and choose, and it gives you the color palette and whether or not that palette is WCAG accessible. So let's drop that for a second. Let me see if I can find it. 508 color palette. Let's try it. Color safe. I think that was what it was. Yes. Okay. No. Set up the canvas and the text. No, maybe this isn't the right one because it had wheels in it. Let's grab that blue. Generate the color palette. Yeah, this is definitely not the one I was thinking of. Anyway, when I find it, I'll post it up here. I just used it a couple of months ago, so I know I'll be able to find it again. And what else was there? Oh, the Lynx text browser, which I didn't have installed. I do not have that installed again because I'm primarily using the text mode browser for this instead. And it's much easier. It's a much simpler tool to use. So if you have any questions, that's pretty much it. It's going to be a short one today. We're going to knock it at a half an hour. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. This video will be available on the Confluence space. Also, all the tools are available on my personal space under the 508 links and tools page. So let's see if we can get Cynthia Says back online. Nope. Cynthia Says is still down. So that was 10 minutes of our presentation. So we might have to run this one again. In the meantime, thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this, even though it was a short one and wasn't able to cover everything I wanted to, but you got the idea. The tools are available. They're not hard to use. If you get to the point where you're starting to do some 508 compliance testing on your own, go ahead and let me know. You and I can run through a short tutorial on any of these tools. They're really so simple to use. There's not any difficult tricks to them. You throw the URL that you want to test into the tool, and it just gives you the report. The nice thing about the Cynthia Says system is it actually gives you a printable report that you can use as a baseline, and then you go have the developers fix a bunch of stuff after you've done all the other testing. So the way I usually do it is this. I'll run the Cynthia Says report. That'll be my baseline for the project. I'll run the Wave compliance checker, the one that's on screen in browser, and I'll note the reds and yellows. So basically the warnings and the errors, and I'll send those back to the developer for repair. Once those items are brought back to me for double check, I'll take and I'll run those tools again and make sure that they're correct, and then I'll run another Cynthia Says report as a second report. So then those two reports get attached to the ticket, obviously, but they're great for submitting to the client. They're great for for proof that the system is compliant to the Section 508 at a minimum, WCAG as your preferred compliance. That's where we're shooting for is the WCAG, the WCAG compliance, at least a single A. It's more and more difficult, especially with some of the tricks that we're getting into in our development, to get any higher than that. But but it's not impossible. All right. So thank you very much for attending. If you guys have any questions, again, you know how to reach me. All right. And this will go up next Friday, and there will be a new series starting with Larry Lee coming up for the next 3 Friday classes. So stay tuned.